Some wolves are born under lucky stars. Others are born under curses so old, even the moon has forgotten why they exist. The night they declared me broken, I was 7 years old. Every wolf child shifts for the first time on the harvest moon following their 7th birthday. It's tradition. It's biology. It's as certain as breathing. I stood in the ceremonial circle with 11 other children, barefoot on cold earth, while the entire Grey Vale pack watched from the shadows. My mother wouldn't look at me. My father stood rigid, his jaw tight enough to crack teeth. Even my younger brother, only 5, stared at me with something that looked like pity. The moon rose full and heavy, spilling silver across the clearing. One by one, the other children began to shift. Bones cracked. Skin rippled. Joyful howls split the air as wolves, clumsy and small, but wolves, emerged where children had stood. Parents cheered. The pack celebrated. And I stood there, waiting, praying. My skin didn't ripple. My bones didn't break. No matter how hard I reached for that instinct every wolf is born with, that inner beast that's supposed to be as natural as a heartbeat, I felt nothing. Just emptiness. Elder Nora approached me as the last child shifted, her eyes cold as winter stone. She placed one gnarled hand on my head, and I felt her power probe deep, searching for what should have been there. She found nothing. Broken, she whispered. The word spread through the crowd like poison. Broken. 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 My mother finally looked at me then, and the disgust in her eyes carved something out of my chest that never grew back. 10 years later, I was still broken. But I'd learned to survive it. I kept my head down. I did the work no other wolf wanted to do, mending, cooking, cleaning the pack house until my fingers bled. I made myself useful enough that they couldn't justify casting me out, but not visible enough to remind them what a shame I was. My wolf never came. The emptiness where she should have been felt like a hollow grave inside my chest. I told myself I'd accepted it. I told myself I was fine. I was lying. The night everything changed started like any other. I was in the kitchens long after moonrise, scrubbing pots while the rest of the pack feasted in the great hall. Laughter echoed through the stone walls. I wasn't invited. I never was. I didn't hear my father approach until his shadow fell across me. Nora. I froze. He never spoke to me. Not unless he had to. I turned slowly, wiping my wet hands on my apron. Alpha. He wouldn't let me call him father anymore. Not since the night I failed to shift. His expression was carved from granite. The council has summoned you. My heart stopped. The Moon Council? Yes. His voice was flat. Empty. You leave at dawn. The Moon Council governed the territories of the 3 Alpha Kings, Shadowpine, Ironmaw, and Silverthorn. They only owned wolves for 2 reasons, to honor them or to use them. I was not the kind of wolf they honored. Why? My voice came out smaller than I wanted. My father's jaw tightened. Grey Vale is dying, Nora. The farms are failing. Game is scarce. We're on the brink of starvation. He paused, and something almost like guilt flickered in his eyes before vanishing. The council demanded a tribute. A gesture of goodwill. Understanding hit me like a fist to the stomach. You're sending me as a sacrifice. I'm sending you as a gift. His voice hardened. A political offering to strengthen our alliance. You should be honored. Honored. The word tasted like ash. You're sending me because I'm the only one you can afford to lose. He didn't deny it. The silence between us stretched sharp and cruel. You leave at dawn, he repeated and walked away. I stood there in the empty kitchen, water dripping from my trembling hands, and felt the last fragile thread connecting me to this pack finally snap. They thought I was harmless. They thought I was nothing. A wolf who couldn't shift was no threat at all. They were so wrong. I didn't sleep that night. I packed my single bag, threadbare clothes, a broken comb, the silver locket my grandmother gave me before she died. It held a portrait of her, painted when she was young. Sometimes I imagined I could see something fierce in her eyes. Something that looked almost like power. But that was fantasy. wasn't it? At dawn, a carriage arrived. Black lacquered wood. Silver hinges. The crest of the Moon Council gleamed on the door, 3 wolves circling a crown. My mother stood on the steps of the pack house, but she didn't say goodbye. My brother looked away. My father handed me off to the council guards like I was cargo. No one howled for me. No one even looked. As the carriage pulled away, I pressed my face to the window and watched Greyvale disappear into the mist. I told myself I wouldn't cry. I told myself I didn't care. But my chest felt like it was caving in. Because despite everything, despite the whispers, the shame, the loneliness that had hollowed me out for 10 years, some stupid, stubborn part of me had still hoped they might love me. They didn't. They never had. I was alone. And I was about to be delivered to 3 of the most powerful alphas in existence, wolves who ruled with absolute authority, who commanded armies, who could crush me with a thought. What did they want with a broken girl who couldn't even shift? The question haunted me for 3 days as the carriage rattled north. I wouldn't learn the answer until it was too late. But I'll tell you this. The moment I stepped into the Moon Council's hall and 3 pairs of eyes locked onto me with an intensity that stole my breath. 1 gold, 1 silver, 1 burning amber. I felt something stir. Deep, deep in that hollow place where my wolf should have been. Something that had been sleeping. Something ancient. And for the first time in my life, I felt it. Power. The Moon Council's fortress was carved into the side of a mountain. It loomed against the sky like a crown of black stone and silver spires, so massive it seemed to swallow the horizon. 3 towers rose from the central keep, 1 for each Alpha King. Even from a distance, I could feel the power radiating from the place. It pressed against my skin like heat from a forge. The carriage climbed the winding road, and my stomach twisted tighter with every turn. I'd heard stories about the Alpha Kings my whole life. Every wolf had. Alpha Liam of Shadowpine, the strategist. Cold, calculating, and ruthless. They said he could see 10 moves ahead in any conflict, and that his enemies never saw their deaths coming until it was too late. Alpha Zane of Iron Ma, the warrior. Brutal in battle, with a temper that burned hot and fast. His pack was the largest, his army the most feared. He'd conquered more territory in 10 years than most alphas managed in a lifetime. Alpha Theo of Silverthorn, the enigma. Quiet. Controlled. Some said he was the most dangerous of the 3 because no one knew what he was thinking. His pack was the oldest, his bloodline the purest. And rumor claimed he had abilities even other alphas feared. 3 kings. 3 territories. 1 council that held them in uneasy alliance. And somehow I was being delivered into the center of it. Why? The question gnawed at me as the carriage finally stopped in a courtyard so large it could have held my entire pack. Guards in silver armor flanked the entrance. Their eyes tracked me as I stepped out, and I felt their judgment like a blade. Weak. Broken. Worthless. I lifted my chin anyway. If I was going to die here, I'd do it with whatever scraps of dignity I had left. A woman met me at the entrance. She was tall, elegant, with dark hair pulled into a severe bun and eyes like chips of ice. Her clothes were fine, tailored black silk that screamed authority. She looked me up and down with a kind of assessment that made me feel like an insect under glass. Nora of Greyvale, she said. Not a question. Yes, I am Margaret, head of the council's household. You will address the Alpha Kings as Your Majesty or Alpha. You will speak only when spoken to. You will go nowhere without an escort. Her voice was clipped, efficient. Do you understand? Yes. Good. She turned sharply. Follow me. I followed her through corridors that seemed to stretch forever, black marble floors, tapestries depicting ancient battles, torches that burned with silver flame. Everything here was designed to remind you how small you were. How insignificant. It worked. We stopped in front of a heavy wooden door. Your quarters, Margaret said. You'll be summoned when the Alphas are ready to see you. Do not leave this room until then. She didn't wait for a response. Just turned and left, her heels clicking against stone like a countdown. I stepped inside. The room was not what I expected. It was beautiful. A four-poster bed with deep blue curtains. A fireplace already lit and crackling. Windows that overlooked mountains painted gold by the setting sun. There was even a bathroom with a clawfoot tub and soaps that smelled like lavender and honey. It was a room for someone important, not for a broken wolf being offered as tribute. I set my bag down carefully, like I might break something, and moved to the window. From here, I could see the 3 towers rising into the sky. Lights flickered in the windows, signs of life, of power, of wolves who belonged here. I pressed my hand against the glass and felt that strange stirring again. Deeper this time. Like something inside me was waking up. "Who are you?" I whispered to my reflection. To the hollow place where my wolf should have been. No answer. There never was. I wasn't summoned that night. Or the next day. Or the day after that. For 3 days, I was left alone in that beautiful room like a bird in a gilded cage. Servants brought food I barely touched. Margaret checked on me with cold efficiency but no warmth. No one told me what was happening. No one explained why I was here. The waiting was worse than anything. It gave me too much time to think. To remember. I thought about my brother, Nathan, who used to sneak me extra food when Mother wasn't looking. He'd stopped after I failed to shift. The shame was too much, even for childhood kindness. I thought about my grandmother, Evelyn, who died when I was 9. She was the only one who never looked at me with disgust. "You're special, Nora," she'd whispered on her deathbed. "Don't let them convince you otherwise." I'd thought she was just being kind. Now I wondered if she'd known something. On the 4th night, I couldn't stand it anymore. I left my room. I know Margaret said not to, but I was going insane staring at those 4 walls, and every instinct I had was screaming that something was wrong, that I needed to understand what I'd been brought here for. The corridors were quiet. I moved like a shadow, keeping to the walls, listening for footsteps. I didn't have a destination in mind. I just walked. That's when I heard the voices. They came from behind a partially open door, a council chamber, judging by the long table I could glimpse inside. 3 voices. The alphas. I should have run. Instead, I moved closer. Absolutely not. The first voice was cold, controlled. "Liam, we need her here. The reports from the border are clear, packs are stabilizing in her presence. Sickness is fading. Crops are recovering. She's doing something, even if she doesn't know it. Which is exactly why she's dangerous." This voice was harder, sharper. "Zane, you want to keep a wolf with unknown power in the heart of our territory? She could be a weapon. She could be a curse. She's neither." The third voice was quieter, but it carried weight that made my skin prickle. "Theo, she's a seal. A lock. And we're the idiots standing around debating what to do while the key sits in our hands." Silence. "You're certain?" Liam asked. "I've been researching her bloodline since the moment she arrived. The Greyvale line didn't used to be weak. 200 years ago, they were feared. Their wolves didn't shift under the moon, they commanded it. They could force other wolves to submit without lifting a claw. The council at the time saw them as a threat and had them neutered. Bloodline magic. A seal passed down through generations." My heart stopped. "And you think she's the first one born with enough power to break it?" Zane's voice stripped skepticism. "I think there's a reason the old prophecy specifically mentions an unshifted one. Her wolf isn't missing. It's locked. And if it awakens, kingdoms will kneel," Liam finished softly. "I know the prophecy, Theo." "Then you know we have 3 choices," Theo said. "We use her. We kill her. Or we protect her." "I vote use," Liam said immediately. "If she can strengthen packs just by existing, imagine what she could do if we unlocked her power and controlled it." "I vote kill," Zane countered. "We don't gamble with prophecies. We end the threat before it begins." "And I vote protect," Theo said quietly. "Because neither of you are considering the 4th option, that she might be the only thing standing between us and something worse. Worse than a wolf who can overthrow kingdoms? Zane laughed, but it wasn't amused. Yes. The single word hung in the air like a blade. I pressed my hand over my mouth to keep from gasping. They knew. They knew I wasn't broken. They knew I had power. And they'd been debating my fate like I was a thing instead of a person. We bring her before the council tomorrow, Liam said finally. Let the other alphas weigh in. This isn't a decision we can make alone. Agreed, Zane said. Theo said nothing. I didn't wait to hear more. I ran. Back in my room, I collapsed against the door, my heart hammering so hard I thought my ribs might crack. A seal. Bloodline magic. A prophecy. My whole life I'd believed I was broken. But I wasn't broken. I was locked. And 3 of the most powerful alphas in the world were deciding whether to use me, kill me, or protect me. I looked down at my hands. They were shaking. Somewhere deep inside, in that hollow place I'd carried for 17 years, I felt it again. That stirring. That ancient, sleeping thing. Who are you? I whispered again. And this time, I swear I felt something answer. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I heard their voices. Use her. Kill her. Protect her. Like I was a weapon to be wielded or a threat to be eliminated. Not a person. Not a girl who'd spent 17 years believing she was worthless. I sat by the window and watched the moon arc across the sky, my grandmother's locket clutched in my hand. The silver was warm against my palm, almost pulsing, like it had a heartbeat of its own. You're special, Nora. Grandmother Evelyn's last words to me. Had she known? Had she understood what I was, what I could become, before anyone else did? I opened the locket and stared at her portrait. In the moonlight, her painted eyes almost seemed to glow. A knock shattered the silence. I jumped, the locket slipping from my fingers and clattering to the floor. Miss Nora. Margaret's voice, cold and clipped. You're summoned. Now. My heart lurched. It's the middle of the night. The alphas don't answer to the sun. Get dressed. You have 5 minutes. Her footsteps retreated. I scrambled to pull on the only decent dress I owned, a simple gray thing that had seen better years, and tried to calm my racing pulse. This is it. Whatever they'd decided, I was about to face it. I picked up the locket, clasped it around my neck, and stepped into the corridor. Margaret led me through the fortress in silence. We didn't go to the council chamber. Instead, she brought me to the base of the 3 towers, where a massive set of double doors stood open. Beyond them, I could see a circular hall lit by hundreds of candles. Their flames burned silver, casting everything in an otherworldly glow. The Moon Hall, where the Alpha Kings held court. Inside, Margaret said. And remember, speak only when spoken to. I stepped through the doors. The hall was breathtaking. The ceiling soared 3 stories high, painted with constellations that seemed to move. The floor was polished black stone inlaid with silver that formed the shape of a massive wolf howling at a crescent moon. And at the center of it all, 3 thrones. 3 wolves. 3 kings. They rose as I entered, and the weight of their attention nearly drove me to my knees. Alpha Liam sat on the left throne. He was tall and lean, with dark hair and eyes the color of molten gold. Everything about him was precise, the cut of his black jacket, the way he held himself, the calculating expression that made me feel like he was dissecting every thought in my head. Alpha Zane commanded the right throne. He was broader, built like a warrior, with close-cropped hair and silver eyes that burned with barely contained violence. Scars marked his hands, his neck. He looked at me like I was a problem he wanted to solve with his fists. Alpha Theo occupied the center throne. He was somewhere between the other 2, not as tall as Liam, not as broad as Zane, but somehow more present. His hair was dark auburn, his eyes a deep amber that seemed to see straight through me. He watched me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. All 3 of them were devastatingly beautiful in the way only alphas could be, power made flesh. And all three of them were staring at me like I was the most fascinating thing they'd ever seen. Nora of Greyvale. Liam spoke first, his voice smooth as silk over steel. Do you know why you're here? I swallowed hard. My pack sent me as tribute. Your pack sent you as a sacrifice, Zane corrected, his voice like gravel. There's a difference. Zane. Theo's quiet reprimand carried surprising authority. Zane's jaw tightened, but he said nothing more. Theo's amber eyes fixed on me. Come closer. It wasn't a request. I forced my legs to move, walking across that vast floor until I stood at the base of the 3 thrones. This close, I could feel their power radiating like heat. It pressed against me, testing, probing, searching. You can't shift, Liam said. A statement, not a question. No, Alpha. Have you ever felt your wolf? Theo asked. I hesitated. I feel something. Sometimes. But it's distant. Like it's sleeping. Or sealed, Theo murmured, so quietly I almost missed it. Zane leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Do you know what you are? Broken, I said automatically. The word tasted like poison. No, Theo stood, descending the steps until he was directly in front of me. He was taller than I expected, and this close, I could see flecks of gold in his amber eyes. You're not broken, Nora. You're locked. My breath caught. He knew. Of course he knew. I'd heard him say it last night. But hearing it directed at me, hearing the certainty in his voice, made it real. Your bloodline was once the most powerful in the realm, Theo continued. Your ancestors didn't shift under the moon. They commanded it. They could force submission from any wolf, regardless of rank. The Council of Old saw them as a threat and placed a seal on your line. A curse that would bind your wolves generation after generation. Why? The word escaped before I could stop it. Because power breeds fear, Liam said from his throne. And fear breeds control. But seals break, Zane added, his silver eyes boring into me. Don't they, Theo? Theo didn't look away from me. Under the right conditions, yes. Extreme emotion. Trauma. Or, he paused, a mate bond. The world tilted. You think she has a mate here? Liam's voice sharpened with interest. I think, Theo said slowly, that we need to know exactly what we're dealing with before we make any decisions. He reached out, and I flinched instinctively. But he didn't touch me. Instead, his hand hovered just above my chest, right over my heart. May I? He asked. I didn't trust my voice. I nodded. His palm pressed flat against my sternum, and power flooded through me like lightning. I gasped. It didn't hurt, but it was intense, overwhelming, like he was pulling at something deep inside me, trying to coax it to the surface. The hollow place where my wolf should have been suddenly burned. There, Theo breathed. Do you feel it? I did. Oh God, I did. Something was there. Something massive and ancient and angry, clawing at the edges of whatever cage held it. She's strong, Theo said, and I realized he wasn't talking to me anymore. He was talking to the others. Stronger than anything I felt. If this seal breaks... He didn't finish. He didn't need to. A sudden, violent jolt of something shot through my chest. Theo jerked his hand back like he'd been burned, his eyes wide. And then I felt it. Pull. Not physical. Deeper than that. A golden thread unspooling from somewhere in my chest, reaching out, searching. And connecting. My eyes snapped to Liam. He'd gone completely still on his throne, his golden eyes wide with shock. No. The thread pulled taut between us, thrumming with power and recognition and inevitability. Mate, Liam whispered. The word shattered something inside me. Because I felt it too. That undeniable bond snapping into place, binding me to him with a force that made my knees weak. Alpha Liam of Shadowpine. The cold strategist who'd voted to use me. He was my mate. For one crystalline moment, hope bloomed in my chest. Mates were sacred. The moon's blessing. If he was mine, then maybe. Liam stood slowly, his expression shifting from shock to something colder. Harder. No, he said. That single word drove a knife through my heart. Liam, Theo started. No, Liam repeated louder. His golden eyes locked on mine, and I saw his decision crystallize in real time. I reject this bond. The world stopped. You can't be serious, Zane said, but he sounded more fascinated than horrified. I don't choose mates based on the moon's whims, Liam said, his voice cold and absolute. I choose based on strategy, on what's best for my pack. And a mate I can't trust, a mate with unknown power who could destroy everything I've built, is not an option. Each word was a blade. Liam, if you reject the bond before it's fully formed, Theo's voice carried a warning. I know the risks. Liam descended the steps, stopping directly in front of me. This close, I could smell him, pine and snow, and something sharp that made my wolf howl in that distant, locked place. Nora of Greyvale. I, Alpha Liam of Shadowpine, reject you as my mate. I sever this bond before the moon can seal it. Power exploded through the hall. The golden thread between us turned white-hot, burning, screaming as it began to tear. And something inside me shattered. Not the bond. Something deeper. The seal. I felt it crack like ice breaking under pressure, and suddenly that hollow place wasn't hollow anymore. It was full. Overflowing. A presence so massive and furious that I couldn't contain it. My wolf. She'd been caged for 17 years. And she was done being quiet. I screamed as power flooded through me, not pain, but too much sensation, too much everything. My skin burned. My bones ached. The silver flames in the hall flared brilliant white. Get back, Theo shouted. But it was too late. My wolf surged forward, and for the first time in my life, I shifted. The transformation felt like being torn apart and remade. Bones cracked and reformed. Muscles stretched. My senses exploded. Suddenly I could smell everything, hear everything, feel the pulse of power in every stone of this fortress. When it was over, I stood on 4 legs instead of 2. But I wasn't a normal wolf. I was massive, easily twice the size of any wolf I'd ever seen. My fur was pure white, almost luminescent in the silver light. And when I opened my eyes, I saw my reflection in the polished floor. My eyes were violet. Not gold. Not silver. Not amber. Violet. The color of ancient magic. Of bloodline power so old it had been forgotten. The 3 alphas stared at me in stunned silence. And then I felt it. My wolf's voice. Not words. Not exactly. But intent. Crystal clear. She wasn't afraid of them. She was furious. I opened my jaws and howled. The sound shook the hall. The silver flames extinguished. The painted stars on the ceiling blazed brighter. And all 3 alphas, kings who commanded armies, who'd never bowed to anyone, dropped to one knee. Not by choice. Their wolves submitted. I felt their shock. Their fear. Their awe. Impossible, Liam breathed. Zane looked like he wanted to attack and flee at the same time. Theo just stared at me with something that might have been wonder. I stood there, my white fur glowing, my violet eyes burning, and felt powerful for the first time in my life. They thought I was broken. They thought I was weak. They were wrong. And now they knew it. The silence in the moon hall stretched like a living thing. 3 alpha kings. On their knees. Because of me. My wolf wanted to roar in triumph, to make them feel what 17 years of being called broken had done to me. But beneath the fury, I felt something else: confusion. Fear. Because I had no idea how to control this. I'd gone from having no wolf at all to commanding alphas with a single howl. What am I? Theo was the first to rise. Slowly. Carefully. Like I was a wild animal that might attack if he moved too fast. Maybe I was. Nora, he said quietly, his amber eyes locked on mine. I need you to breathe. Focus on my voice. Your wolf is awake, but you're still in control. You need to shift back. Shift back? I didn't even know how I'd shifted forward. My wolf snarled inside my head, not at Theo, but at the idea of backing down. She'd been caged for so long. She wanted to run, to hunt, to show these alphas exactly what happens when you try to use someone who was born to rule. Nora. Theo took a step closer. I know she's angry. I know you're angry. But if you don't shift back, your body won't be able to handle the strain. First shifts are hard enough. First shifts after breaking a 17-year seal can kill you. That got through. I didn't want to die. Not now. Not when I'd finally discovered I wasn't broken. I closed my violet eyes and reached inward, trying to find that place where human and wolf met. It was harder than I expected. My wolf didn't want to let go. She fought me every step, snarling and snapping. Please, I begged her. Please, I need you to trust me. Something in that plea resonated. Maybe because we were the same. Both of us had been betrayed. Both of us had been locked away. Both of us were done being powerless. Slowly, agonizingly, my wolf retreated. The shift back was worse than the shift forward. My bones cracked into new positions. My fur receded. My senses dimmed until the world felt muffled and distant. When it was over, I collapsed on the cold stone floor, gasping. I was naked, of course I was. My dress had shredded during the shift, but someone had already thrown a cloak over me. Theo knelt beside me, his hand hovering over my shoulder but not quite touching. Easy, he murmured. Just breathe. I managed to pull the cloak tighter around myself and looked up. Liam stood at the base of his throne, his expression unreadable. But his golden eyes were fixed on me with an intensity that made my chest ache. The severed mate bond still burned between us, raw and bleeding. Zane hadn't moved from where he'd knelt. He stared at me like I was a puzzle he couldn't solve, and he hated puzzles. What the hell was that? Zane finally asked, his voice rough. That, Theo said, still kneeling beside me, was a royal wolf. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Royals are extinct, Liam said flatly. They died out 300 years ago. Apparently not. Theo helped me to my feet, steadying me when my legs threatened to give out. The seal didn't just lock her wolf. It transformed her bloodline, compressed generations of power into a single vessel. When it broke, she became something none of us were prepared for, Zane finished. He stood, rolling his shoulders like he was trying to shake off the feeling of submission. A wolf that can force alphas to kneel. Do you understand what that means? It means, Liam said coldly, that she's exactly the threat I feared. Those words landed like a physical blow. I turned to look at him, at my mate, who'd rejected me, and felt my wolf snarl in my chest. I didn't ask for this, I said, my voice hoarse. I didn't ask to be born into a cursed bloodline. I didn't ask for you to be my mate. And I definitely didn't ask for you to reject me. Something flickered in Liam's eyes. Regret? Pain? It vanished before I could name it. What's done is done, he said. The question now is what we do with you. With me. I laughed, and it sounded broken. Not for me. Not to help me. With me. Like I'm still just a thing to be used. You forced 3 alphas to submit, Zane said, his silver eyes hard. You think we're just going to pat you on the head and send you home? My home didn't want me, I shot back. Remember? They sent me here as a sacrifice. Silence. Theo's hand was still on my elbow, steadying me. When I glanced at him, his expression was softer than the others. Almost sympathetic. You're right, Theo said quietly. You didn't ask for any of this. But you're here now, and we need to figure out what happens next. Together. Together. Liam scoffed. She's a liability. She's a person, Theo snapped, his amber eyes flashing. And she's terrified. Look at her, Liam. Really look. Liam's jaw tightened, but he did. His golden gaze raked over me, trembling in a borrowed cloak, barefoot on cold stone, my body still shaking from the shift. For just a moment, I saw something crack in his perfect control. Then he looked away. Margaret, he called. The head of household appeared from the shadows so quickly I wondered if she'd been there the whole time. Take her back to her quarters, Liam ordered. Postcards. She doesn't leave until we've decided what to do. I'm not a prisoner, I said. You are now, Zane said, not unkindly. For your safety as much as ours. Margaret approached with the same cold efficiency as always, but when she took my arm, her grip was almost gentle. Come, Miss Nora. I wanted to fight. My wolf wanted to make them listen. But I was exhausted. Wrung out. And despite everything, Theo was right. I was terrified. So I let Margaret lead me away. But not before I looked back one last time. Liam stood rigid, his hands clenched into fists. Zane watched me with those calculating silver eyes. And Theo. Theo met my gaze and mouthed 2 words. I'm sorry. The guards outside my door weren't subtle. 2 of them. Armed. Their eyes tracked me through the window when I paced too close. I was a prisoner in a gilded cage. Again. I collapsed on the bed and pressed my grandmother's locket to my chest. It was the only thing that had survived the shift, the chain somehow still intact. What would you tell me to do, grandmother? No answer came. But when I opened the locket, I noticed something I'd never seen before. There was writing on the back of her portrait. Tiny. Faded. I had to hold it up to the candlelight to read it. When the moon calls, answer. When they kneel, rise. You are more than they believe. My hand shook. She knew. Grandmother Evelyn had known what I was. What I would become. And she'd left me a message. When they kneel, rise. A knock at the door made me jump. Come in, I called, expecting Margaret. The door opened. It was Theo. He stepped inside quickly and closed the door behind him. The guards didn't stop him. Apparently Alpha Kings didn't need permission. I shouldn't be here, he said immediately. But I needed to make sure you were okay. I stared at him. Why do you care? Because someone should. He moved to the window, keeping his distance, giving me space. And because what Liam did was wrong. He had every right to reject the bond, I said bitterly. Mates are a choice. Not when the rejection breaks a seal that could have killed you. Theo turned to face me. He knew. I told him the risks. And he did it anyway because he was scared. Scared? Alpha Liam of Shadowpine, scared of me. Terrified, Theo confirmed. He spent his entire life building his power on control and strategy. And you're chaos. Unknown. A force he can't predict or manipulate. That terrifies him more than any enemy. I didn't know what to say to that. Theo crossed the room and carefully, like he was approaching a wild animal, sat on the edge of the bed. Not close enough to threaten. Just close enough to talk. I've been researching your bloodline for weeks, he said. Since before you even arrived. The prophecy isn't just about you being powerful, Nora. It's about you being a choice. What do you mean? When the unshifted one howls, kingdoms will kneel, he quoted. Everyone focuses on the kneeling part. But the prophecy continues. She will choose to rule, to destroy, or to save. My blood ran cold. I don't want to rule anything. I know. His amber eyes were impossibly kind. But you'll have to choose eventually. And Liam, Zane, and we're all betting on different outcomes. Let me guess, I said. Liam thinks I'll rule and wants to control me. Zane thinks I'll destroy and wants me dead. And you. I think you'll save us, Theo said quietly. From something we don't even see coming yet. The sincerity in his voice made my throat tight. Why? I whispered. Why do you believe in me when you don't even know me? Theo smiled, a small, sad thing. Because I know what it's like to be afraid of your own power. To have everyone look at you like you're a monster waiting to happen. He paused. My ability isn't just strength, Nora. I can see threads of fate. Possibilities. And every thread I see with you in it, every single one, you choose compassion over cruelty. Even when it costs you. Tears burned in my eyes. No one had ever said anything like that to me. I came here to tell you something, Theo continued. Tomorrow, the council convenes. All the regional alphas will be here. They'll want to see you. Test you. And Liam is going to propose that you be bound to Shadowpine, essentially making you his weapon. No, the word came out fierce. I won't. I know. Which is why I'm going to propose an alternative. He met my eyes. I'm going to ask that you be allowed to choose which territory you align with. Shadowpine, Ironmaw, or Silverthorn. The choice is yours. Hope flickered. You'd do that. I'd do more than that. Theo stood. I'd offer you sanctuary in Silverthorn. No strings. No expectations. Just safety. Time to learn what you are and what you want to be. Why? I asked again. He paused at the door. Because you deserve better than being used, Nora. And because he hesitated, then said quietly, I think you might be the answer to a question I've been asking for a very long time. He left before I could ask what question. But as I sat there in the candlelight, clutching my grandmother's locket, I felt something I hadn't felt since my wolf awakened. Hope. Maybe I wasn't alone after all. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt it, the severed mate bond with Liam, still burning like an open wound. And beneath that, my wolf paced restlessly, furious at being caged again. Not by a seal this time, but by stone walls and armed guards. When dawn broke, Margaret arrived with a dress. Not the simple gray thing I'd worn before. This was deep sapphire blue, fitted and elegant, with silver embroidery that caught the light. It was a dress meant to make a statement. The council convenes in an hour, Margaret said as she helped me into it. Her hands were efficient, but not unkind. You'll stand before every alpha in the Northern Territories. They'll want to test you. Test me how? Her lips pressed into a thin line. Best you don't know. Just remember what you are, Miss Nora. Don't let them make you forget. It was the closest thing to kindness she'd shown me. When she finished, I looked at myself in the mirror. The girl staring back didn't look broken. She looked powerful. Dangerous. Good, my wolf growled. Let them see. The council hall was even more impressive than the moon hall. It was circular, carved from white stone, with a domed ceiling painted to look like the night sky. Hundreds of alphas filled the tiered seats, males and females from packs across the realm, all wearing their ceremonial leathers and furs. The air thrummed with power so thick it was hard to breathe. At the center of the hall stood a raised platform. Waiting for me. The 3 Alpha Kings sat in their thrones at the head of the room. Liam looked as cold and composed as ever. Zane radiated barely contained violence. And Theo, his amber eyes found mine the moment I entered, and something in his expression steadied me. You're not alone, that look said. I lifted my chin and walked toward the platform. Every eye in the room tracked me. I felt their judgment, their curiosity, their fear. Whispers rippled through the crowd. That's her. She doesn't look like much. I heard she forced the kings to kneel. Impossible. I climbed onto the platform and stood at its center, my hands clasped in front of me to hide their trembling. Liam stood, and the hall fell silent. Alphas of the council, he began, his voice carrying effortlessly through the space. We've summoned you here to witness and judge a matter of unprecedented importance. The wolf before you is Nora of Greyvale. She is the first royal wolf born in 3 centuries. Gasps rippled through the crowd. She possesses the ability to command submission from any wolf, regardless of rank, Liam continued. Last night, she forced the 3 of us to kneel with a single howl. The whispers turned to shouts. Impossible. Prove it. She's a threat. Liam raised his hand, and silence fell again. The question before this council is simple. What do we do with her? An older alpha stood from the crowd, gray-haired, scarred, with eyes like flint. If she's as powerful as you claim, she should be bound to the strongest pack. To Shadowpine. We can't allow that kind of power to roam free. I disagree, a female alpha called out. She was younger, fierce-looking. If she's a royal, she should be executed. Our ancestors killed the royal lines for a reason. They were tyrants. She's done nothing wrong, another voice shouted. You can't execute someone for what they might do. The hall erupted into chaos. Alphas shouting over each other, arguing, threatening. Some called for my death. Others called for my imprisonment. A very few, called for my freedom. I stood frozen on the platform, watching them debate my life like I wasn't even there. My wolf snarled. Make them listen. No, I told her. Not yet. Zane rose from his throne, and his presence was enough to quiet the room. There's one way to settle this, he said. His silver eyes locked on mine. We test her. If she's truly a royal wolf, she should be able to withstand a challenge from any alpha here. If she breaks, he shrugged, then she's not the threat we fear. And if she doesn't break? Theo asked quietly. Zane's smile was sharp. Then we'll know exactly what we're dealing with. Liam's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Agreed. Who volunteers for the challenge? A massive alpha stood from the third tier, easily 7 feet tall, built like a mountain. His wolf was visible in his eyes, pressing against his control. I'll do it, he rumbled. Alpha Dane of Blackridge. If she's so powerful, let's see her resist me. He jumped down to the arena floor and shifted midair. His wolf was enormous, black as midnight, with fangs like daggers. He landed on 4 paws and immediately released his alpha aura, flooding the hall with oppressive power designed to force submission. Every wolf in the room felt it. Some of the weaker alphas actually flinched. But I felt nothing. My wolf rose to meet his challenge, and she was unimpressed. Dane's massive wolf stalked toward me, growling. His aura pressed harder, trying to force me to my knees. I didn't move. Kneel, he snarled, and the command carried alpha compulsion strong enough to drop a lesser wolf instantly. I tilted my head. No. His eyes widened. And then my wolf decided she was done playing nice. I didn't shift. I didn't have to. I simply released the smallest fraction of my power, just enough to let them feel what I was, and pushed back. Dane's wolf yelped and collapsed to the ground, legs splaying as his body forced him into submission. He fought it, muscles straining, but he couldn't resist. The hall went dead silent. Anyone else? I asked quietly. No one moved. I looked up at the 3 thrones. At Liam, who watched with something that might have been awe or horror. At Zane, whose expression had shifted from skepticism to respect. At Theo, who smiled like he'd just won a bet. I'm not a threat, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I'm not a tyrant. I'm just a girl who spent 17 years being told she was broken. And now that you know I'm not, you want to cage me again. Use me. Kill me. I shook my head. I won't let you. Then what do you want? The gray-haired alpha demanded. What did I want? A week ago, I would have said I just wanted to belong. To be accepted. But now, I want a choice, I said. I want to decide my own fate. Not have it decided for me by wolves who see me as a weapon or a threat or a prize. That's not how this works, the female alpha who'd called for my execution said. You're too dangerous to be left unchecked. Then check me, I shot back. But let it be my choice who I align with. Who I trust. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Theo stood. I propose we allow exactly that. Let Nora choose which territory offers her sanctuary. Shadowpine, Ironmaw, or Silverthorn. The choice is hers alone. Absolutely not, Liam said immediately. She needs structure. Guidance. She can't. She can speak for herself, I interrupted, and the shock on his face was almost worth the severed bond still burning in my chest. I turned to address the council. I'll choose. But I need time. I need to understand what I am before I decide where I belong. How much time? An alpha called out. A month, Theo answered before I could. 1 month in neutral territory, here, at the Moon Council Fortress. She trains, she learns, and then she chooses. And if she chooses wrong? Zane asked. If she chooses a territory and then turns on us? Then you'll have your answer about what she is, Theo said. And you can act accordingly. It was a gamble. A massive one. But as I looked at Theo's steady amber eyes, I realized he was betting on me. Again. Liam looked like he wanted to argue, but he was outmaneuvered and he knew it. Fine. 1 month. But she's monitored at all times. Agreed, Zane said. The council voted. It wasn't unanimous, Plenty of alphas still wanted me dead or bound, but it was enough. I had 1 month. 1 month to figure out what I was and where I belonged. It should have felt like a victory. So why did it feel like I was running out of time? The council dismissed, but I was required to stay on the platform while the alphas filed out. Most of them stared. Some looked afraid. A few looked hungry, like they were already planning how to use me. When the hall finally emptied, I sagged with relief. That went better than I expected, Theo said, appearing at my side. He offered his hand to help me down from the platform. I took it, grateful for the steady warmth of his grip. Better. I laughed weakly. They almost voted to execute me. Almost doesn't count. His smile was small but genuine. You stood up to them, Nora. You demanded a choice. That took courage. Or stupidity. Sometimes they're the same thing. I wanted to smile, but exhaustion was crashing over me in waves. The adrenaline that had carried me through the council was fading fast. Come on, Theo said gently. Let's get you back to your quarters. You need rest. We'd barely made it 3 steps when Liam appeared, blocking our path. His golden eyes were harder than I'd ever seen them. We need to talk. Now's not the time, Liam, Theo said. I wasn't asking. Liam's gaze pinned me in place. Alone. Every instinct screamed at me to refuse. But I also needed to understand, needed to hear why he'd rejected me, why he looked at me like I was both the answer and the problem. It's fine, I told Theo. He hesitated, then nodded. I'll be right outside. Liam waited until Theo left, then turned to me. For a long moment, he just stared. Like he was trying to solve an equation that didn't add up. Do you feel it? He finally asked. Feel what? The bond. Even severed, it's still there. Pulling. Burning. I did. God, I did. It felt like someone had carved out a piece of my chest and left the wound open. Yes, I whispered. Something cracked in his expression. I didn't want to reject you. The words hit like a physical blow. Then why did you? Because I saw what you could become, he said, his voice raw. I looked at you, and I saw someone who could unite the territories or tear them apart. Someone with more power than any alpha has a right to possess. And he stopped, jaw clenching. I couldn't let myself be weak for you. Loving your mate isn't weakness. It is when it blinds you to threats. His golden eyes burned into mine. My father loved his mate. He loved her so much that when she betrayed him, when she sold Shadowpine's secrets to a rival pack, he couldn't see it coming. Couldn't stop her. Half my pack died because he chose love over logic. Understanding crashed through me. So you chose logic over me. I chose my pack over a bond one didn't ask for, he corrected. But his voice wavered. Just slightly. And now? I asked. What do you want now? Liam stepped closer. Close enough that I could smell pine and snow. Close enough that the severed bond screamed for me to close the distance. I want, he said quietly, to know if you hate me. I should have said yes. Should have told him exactly how much it hurt to be rejected by someone the moon itself chose for me. But I couldn't. Because buried under the hurt and anger was something else. Something that recognized his fear because I'd lived with my own for 17 years. I don't hate you, I whispered. But I don't trust you either. He flinched like I'd struck him. Good, he said after a moment. You shouldn't. He turned to leave, then paused. Nora, when you choose a territory, know this. Shadowpine will give you structure, training, purpose. We'll teach you to control your power. To use it. To weaponize it, you mean. His jaw tightened. To survive with it. Because whether you want it or not, you're in the center of a war now. And the wolves who see you as a threat won't wait for you to be ready. He left before I could respond. I stood there, trembling, until Theo returned. Are you all right? He asked. No, I said honestly. But I will be. He walked me back to my quarters in silence, but at the door, he paused. Nora, I need to tell you something. About why I really brought you here. My heart stuttered. What do you mean? Theo's amber eyes were impossibly serious. I didn't just research your bloodline out of curiosity. 3 months ago, I had a vision. A true prophecy, not just possibilities. He took a breath. I saw a darkness coming. Something ancient. Something that could destroy all the territories. And in every version of the future where we survive, every single one, you were there. Fighting beside us. The world tilted. What kind of darkness? I don't know yet. But it's connected to you somehow. To your awakening. He gripped my shoulders gently. Nora, I think the seal on your bloodline wasn't just about controlling your power. I think it was hiding you from something. And now that you've awakened, I've sent up a signal. I finished, horror dawning. Whatever was looking for my bloodline knows I'm here. Yes. When? My voice shook. When is it coming? Theo's expression was grim. Soon. Which is why you need to choose a territory quickly. You need allies. Training. Protection. Or, a new voice drawled from the shadows, she needs to stop hiding and start hunting. We both spun. Zane stepped into the corridor, his silver eyes glinting. I've been listening. Couldn't help myself. He shrugged unapologetically. And if what Theo says is true, if something's coming for her, then teaching her to defend isn't enough. We need to teach her to attack. She's not a weapon, Theo said sharply. No, Zane agreed, his gaze locking on mine. She's a warrior. She just doesn't know it yet. He tilted his head. What do you say, Nora? Want to learn how to fight like a royal wolf should? I looked between them. Theo, offering sanctuary and safety. Zane, offering strength and steel. And somewhere in the fortress, Liam, offering control and strategy. 3 alphas. 3 paths. And something dark hunting me in the shadows. Teach me, I said. All of you. I don't care about politics or territories right now. If something's coming for me, I want to be ready to face it. Zane's smile was sharp and approving. Now that's what I wanted to hear. Theo nodded slowly. Then we start tomorrow. All 3 territories will train you. Together. It should have been impossible, getting 3 rival alphas to cooperate. But as they looked at me, I saw something shift. They weren't just seeing a threat anymore. They were seeing someone worth protecting. Worth training. Maybe even worth believing in. And for the first time since my wolf awakened, I felt something other than fear. I felt ready. Training with 3 alpha kings was like being forged in fire. Every morning for 2 weeks, I woke before dawn and met them in different parts of the fortress. Mornings belonged to Zane. He taught me to fight. Not the careful, controlled movements of formal combat, but brutal, efficient violence designed to survive. He pushed me until my muscles screamed, until I could barely stand, and then pushed harder. Royals don't lose because they're weak, he growled during one session, circling me like prey. They lose because they hesitate. So stop thinking and move. He lunged. I dodged barely, and my wolf surged forward instinctively, lending me speed I shouldn't have possessed. My counterattack caught him in the ribs. Zane grinned, blood on his teeth. Better. Again. Afternoons belonged to Liam. He taught me strategy. How to read my opponents, anticipate their moves, turn their strengths into weaknesses. We spent hours in his study, surrounded by maps and books and chessboards. Power without intelligence is just destruction, he said, moving a piece across the board. Your wolf can force submission. But what happens when you face something that can't submit? Something that doesn't have a wolf to dominate? I don't know, I admitted. Then you learn. His golden eyes met mine, and for just a moment, the severed bond between us ached. Because your enemies will. Evenings belonged to Theo. He taught me control. How to touch my wolf's power without letting it consume me. How to shift partially, just claws, just fangs, instead of full transformations that left me exhausted. We trained in the moon garden, under open sky, and Theo's patience was infinite. Your wolf isn't separate from you, he explained, guiding my hand as I tried to extend just my claws. She's not something to cage or command. She's an extension of your soul. Work with her, not against her. When I finally managed it, claws extending from human hands, violet light shimmering along my skin. Theo's smile was radiant. Beautiful, he murmured. And the way he looked at me made my heart stutter. But it wasn't all training. Late at night, when I was supposed to be sleeping, I felt it. That pull. Like something was calling to me. Searching. My wolf would wake, agitated, pacing inside my mind. And I'd stand at my window, staring into the darkness beyond the fortress walls, feeling eyes I couldn't see watching back. Soon, a voice whispered in my dreams. Soon, daughter of the old blood. Soon you'll remember what you really are. I never told the alphas about the dreams. I should have. 3 weeks into my month of training, everything changed. I was sparring with Zane in the training yard, no weapons, just hand to hand, when a runner burst through the doors. Alpha Zane. The young wolf was bleeding, gasping. Ironmaw's eastern border attacked. Zane's entire demeanor shifted. The playful warrior vanished, replaced by the ruthless Alpha King. How many? We don't know. They're not wolves, Alpha. The runner's voice broke. They're shadows. Moving like smoke. Killing everything they touch. My blood turned to ice. Theo and Liam appeared within minutes, summoned by the commotion. Shadows? Liam's voice was sharp. Describe them. Dark. Formless. But they have teeth, claws, they tear through wolves like we're nothing. And wherever they pass, the land dies. Grass turns black. Trees wither. The runner trembled. It's like they're consuming life itself. Theo's face went pale. It started. What started? Zane demanded. Theo looked at me, and his amber eyes were filled with dread. The thing I saw in my vision. The darkness hunting her bloodline. He turned to the others. It's not just coming for Nora. It's been drawn by her awakening. And it won't stop until it has her. Or until we kill it, Zane said grimly. You can't kill shadows, the runner whispered. Everything can be killed, Zane growled. He looked at Liam. Mobilize Shadowpine's forces. Theo, bring Silverthorn's warriors. We end this before it reaches the fortress. No, Liam's voice cut through the panic. We don't know what we're fighting. Rushing in blind is suicide. So we just wait while my pack dies? Zane's eyes flashed silver. We prepare, Liam shot back. We fortify the fortress, gather intelligence, and... While you two argue, I interrupted, my voice shaking. Wolves are dying. Because of me. They both turned to stare. Nora, Theo started. No, I shook my head. You said this thing is hunting my bloodline. That means it wants me. So give it to me. Absolutely not, all three said in unison. You don't get to decide. The words exploded out of me, and my wolf surged forward, lending power to my voice. The three alphas actually flinched. This is my choice. My life. And I won't hide while others die protecting me. You don't know how to fight shadows, Liam said, but his voice was strained. Then teach me. Fast. I looked at each of them. Or let me go out there and figure it out myself. Zane laughed, a sharp, surprised sound. She's got fire. I like it. This isn't a game, Theo said quietly. If you face this thing unprepared, you'll die. And if I don't face it, how many others will? I met his eyes. You saw the future, Theo. You said in every version where we survive, I'm there fighting. So let me fight. Silence. Finally, Liam spoke. If we do this, if we take you to the border, you follow our commands. No heroics. No running off to sacrifice yourself. Understood. Understood. Then we leave in an hour. Zane was already moving toward the door. Gear up. And pray to the moon we're not too late. The journey to Ironmaw's eastern border took 4 hours, even at full sprint. We traveled with a small force, 20 elite warriors, the 3 alphas and me. I rode with Theo, who kept his wolf steady beneath us both while I clung to his fur. The closer we got, the more I felt it. Wrong. The air tasted like ash. The forest grew darker, quieter. Birds didn't sing. Insects didn't buzz. Everything was dead. When we finally reached the border, I understood why the runner had been so terrified. The shadows weren't metaphorical. They were real. dozens of them, swirling through the trees like living smoke. Where they touched, everything withered, grass turned black, trees crumbled to dust, even the air seemed to rot. And in the center of them all, something massive. A figure made of darkness, easily 12 feet tall, with eyes like burning coals and a presence that made my wolf scream in terror. "What is that?" I breathed. "A voidwalker," Theo said, his voice tight. "Ancient predators that fed on powerful bloodlines. They were supposed to be extinct." "Why does it want her?" Zane growled, already shifting into his massive silver wolf. "Because royal wolves were their favorite prey," Theo said. "Their power is like a beacon. And now that she's awakened..." The Voidwalker's head snapped toward us. Those burning eyes locked onto me. And it smiled. "Nora, get back!" Liam roared. But I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Because I heard it. That voice from my dreams. "Daughter of the old blood. Finally, you've come home." The shadows surged forward. Zane's warriors met them with fangs and claws, but it was like fighting smoke. The shadows flowed around their attacks, and wherever they touched wolf flesh, it burned. Screams filled the air. "Fall back," Liam commanded. "Fall back." But the shadows were everywhere, cutting off retreat. And the Voidwalker was moving toward me, slow and inevitable, like it had all the time in the world. "You don't belong with them," the voice whispered. "You belong with us. With the dark. With the power they fear." "No," I whispered. "Yes. You've always known, haven't you? That you're different. That you're more. Stop fighting what you are." My wolf snarled, but beneath the defiance, I felt her recognition. Like some part of her remembered this thing. Knew it. Theo appeared at my side in human form, bleeding from a dozen shadow wounds. "Nora, listen to me. Whatever it's saying, it's lying. That thing wants to consume you, not free you. How do I stop it?" "I don't know." His voice cracked with desperation. "In my visions, you fought it. You won. But I never saw how." The Voidwalker was close enough now that I could feel its cold radiating outward. Frost formed on the ground. My breath misted. Liam and Zane fought desperately to reach me, but the shadows kept them back. I was alone. "Join us," the Voidwalker whispered. "Or watch everything you've come to care for die." And then it lunged. Not at me. At Theo. Shadow claws extended, aimed for his heart. And something inside me snapped. "No." The word tore from my throat with power that shook the earth. My wolf exploded forward, not into a shift, but into pure energy. Violet light burst from my skin, flooding the clearing, and I felt my power reach out like a tidal wave. The shadows screamed. Where my light touched them, they dissolved like mist under sunlight. The Voidwalker recoiled, actually afraid. "Impossible," it hissed. "You haven't awakened fully, you can't have this much." I didn't understand what I was doing. Didn't know how to control it. But I didn't need to. My wolf knew. She reached through our bond with every wolf on this battlefield, Liam, Zane, Theo, the warriors, and she pulled. Their power flooded into me. Not stealing it. Borrowing it. United. And I directed it all at the Voidwalker. "You want a royal wolf?" I snarled, my voice echoing with ancient power. "Here I am." The violet light condensed into a spear of pure energy. And I threw it. It pierced the Voidwalker's chest, and the creature's scream shattered windows in the fortress 4 hours away. The shadows dissolved. The darkness retreated. And the Voidwalker collapsed, burning from the inside out with violet flame. "This isn't over," it rasped as it died. "You've only made yourself a bigger target. They'll all come for you now." Then it was gone. The clearing fell silent. I collapsed to my knees, gasping. The power drained out of me so fast I felt hollow again, worse than hollow. Empty. Theo caught me before I hit the ground. "I've got you," he murmured. "You're safe. You did it." But I didn't feel safe. Because the Voidwalker's last words echoed in my mind. "They'll all come for you now. Not one monster. All of them." And I just announced exactly where I was. I woke 3 days later. The healers said my body had gone into shock, not from injury, but from channeling more power than any wolf should be able to survive. I'd burned through my reserves and kept going, pulling energy from the bond I'd formed with every wolf on that battlefield. I should have died. I didn't. When I finally opened my eyes, Theo was sitting beside my bed, his head bowed, hands clasped like he'd been praying. Theo? My voice came out rough, broken. His head snapped up, and the relief on his face was so raw it hurt to see. Nora. Thank the moon. He reached for my hand, then stopped himself. How do you feel? Like I got trampled by a pack. I tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Everything ached. Theo helped me, adjusting pillows with careful gentleness. You've been unconscious for 3 days. The healers weren't sure you'd wake up. What happened? After the Voidwalker. You saved everyone. His amber eyes held mine. The warriors you connected with, they said they felt you. Not just your power, but you. Your determination. Your refusal to let that thing win. He paused. You created something that shouldn't be possible, Nora. A pack bond with wolves who aren't your pack. I stared at my hands. They looked normal. But I could still feel it, faint threads connecting me to those warriors. To Theo. To Zane. To Liam. Even with our mate bond severed, I could feel him. Distant. Guarded. But there. The Voidwalker said something before it died, I whispered. It said they'd all come for me now. What did it mean? Theo's expression darkened. Voidwalkers hunt in packs. What you killed was a scout. The others will have felt it die, and they'll know a royal wolf killed it. He took a breath. We have maybe a week before they descend on this fortress. Maybe less. Horror flooded through me. Then everyone needs to evacuate. Get as far from me as... No, Theo's grip on my hand tightened. We're not abandoning you, Nora. None of us. You should. I'm the target. If I leave, they'll hunt you down and kill you. A new voice, sharp and cold. Liam stood in the doorway, arms crossed. He looked exhausted, shadows under his golden eyes, tension in every line of his body. How long had he been standing there? The only reason you survived that Voidwalker is because you had an army backing you, Liam continued, stepping into the room. Alone, you'd be dead in minutes. Better me than hundreds of wolves, I shot back. Noble. Stupid. But noble. Zane appeared behind Liam, shouldering past him into the room. Lucky for you, we don't do noble sacrifices here. We do war. I looked between the three of them. You can't be serious. You'd risk your packs, your territories for me. Yes, Theo said simply. You're an asset, Liam added, though something in his voice softened. And more than that, you proved something on that battlefield. You can unite wolves in ways we never could. That makes you invaluable. Plus, Zane said with a sharp grin, I want to see what you can do when you're actually trained. That violet light show? That was you panicking. Imagine what you could do with control. I wanted to argue. To insist they were making a mistake. But the truth was I didn't want to die alone. Didn't want to face the darkness by myself. And these three wolves, for all their complicated reasons, were offering to stand with me. 1 week, I said quietly. What do we do? Liam moved to the window, staring out at the fortress. We fortify. Every alpha in the Northern Territories needs to be warned. We pull our forces here and prepare for a siege. We also finish your training, Zane added. You connected with 20 wolves during that fight. We need to see if you can do it with more. With all of us. And we figure out what you really are, Theo said. Because royal wolves were powerful, but what you did shouldn't have been possible even for them. There's something more happening. Something your bloodline is hiding. My grandmother, I said suddenly. She knew. She left me a message in her locket. Maybe there are more answers in Greyvale in her things. Greyvale won't let you back in, Liam said. Your father made it clear you're no longer pack. Then we make them let her in, Zane growled. They want our protection from the coming war? They cooperate. Liam nodded slowly. I'll send word. We leave for Greyvale tomorrow. We? I asked. His golden eyes met mine. You think I'm letting you walk back into the pack that rejected you without backup? They'll try to use you, Nora. I won't let that happen. The protectiveness in his voice made the severed bond ache. I'm coming too, Theo said. Same, Zane agreed. 3 alphas showing up sends a message. Greyvale will cooperate or face consequences. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt dread coiling in my stomach. Because going back to Greyvale meant facing my family. The pack that called me broken. The life I thought I'd escaped. But if answers about my bloodline were there, if there was any chance my grandmother had left something that could help me survive what was coming, I had to go. We left at dawn. The journey to Greyvale took a full day, and every mile made my anxiety worse. I rode with Theo again, his massive wolf steady beneath us, while Liam and Zane flanked us in their wolf forms. They were smaller than me when I shifted. I'd noticed that during training. My royal wolf was larger, more powerful. But they made up for it in experience and control. Control I still desperately needed. When Greyvale's territory markers appeared, my stomach twisted into knots. The pack house looked exactly the same. Stone and timber, built into the hillside, with smoke rising from chimneys and wolves moving through the courtyard. But everything felt different. Because I was different. The guards at the gate recognized me immediately. Their eyes widened. Nora, one breathed. But you can't shift. Things change, Zane said, shifting to human form with casual confidence. Now get your alpha. Tell him the 3 kings request an audience. The guards scrambled. Within minutes, my father appeared. Alpha Caleb of Greyvale, still imposing, still cold, still looking at me like I was a problem he'd thought he'd solved. But when he saw the 3 alphas flanking me, his expression shifted to shock. Nora. He didn't call me daughter. What is this? We need access to your archives, Liam said smoothly. Specifically, anything related to Nora's grandmother, Evelyn. Why would the kings care about? Because your daughter, Theo interrupted, is a royal wolf. And she needs information about her bloodline that you've been keeping from her. My father's face went pale. That's impossible. She couldn't even shift. Couldn't? Or wasn't allowed to? I asked, my voice sharper than I'd intended. The seal on our bloodline, you knew about it, didn't you? Silence. Father, I pressed. Did you know? He looked away. Your grandmother told me stories. Before she died. About our ancestors. About what they could do. His jaw tightened. I thought they were just stories. Myths to make herself feel important. They weren't myths, Theo said. And we need everything Evelyn left behind. Journals, letters, anything. My father hesitated, then nodded stiffly. Follow me. Grandmother Evelyn's room had been locked since she died. My father opened it with a key that hung around his neck, and dust motes swirled in the afternoon light streaming through windows. The room was exactly as I remembered. Simple. Sparse. But in the corner stood a carved wooden chest I'd never been allowed to open. She made me promise, my father said quietly, to only open this when you were ready. I thought she meant when you found a mate. When you had a pack. He looked at me. I didn't realize she meant when you found yourself. He handed me the key. My hands shook as I knelt before the chest and turned the lock. Inside were journals. Dozens of them, leather-bound and filled with my grandmother's careful handwriting. And beneath them a letter. Addressed to me. My dearest Nora, if you're reading this, it means you've awakened. It means the seal has broken, and you've discovered what you truly are. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you while I lived. The magic binding our bloodline prevented me from speaking the truth aloud. But I can write it now in the hope that when the time comes, you'll find these words. You are not just a royal wolf, my darling girl. You are the last of the moon-blessed wolves born once every 1,000 years, chosen by the moon itself to restore balance when darkness rises. Your power doesn't come from domination or force. It comes from connection. You can unite wolves because you carry a piece of the moon's own light. And that light can burn away any darkness, but only if you accept what you are. The Void Walkers will come for you. They always come for moon-blessed wolves. They fear you because you're the only thing that can truly destroy them. But know this, you don't have to face them alone. The moon chose you, yes, but she also guides you to those who will stand beside you. Trust them. Let them help. Let them love you. You're stronger than you know, braver than you believe, and more loved than you can imagine. Always. Grandmother Evelyn. Tears blurred my vision. Nora. Theo's voice was soft. What does it say? I handed him the letter with shaking hands. He read it, passed it to Liam, then to Zane. When Zane finished, he let out a low whistle. Moon blessed. Well, that explains the violet eyes and the hole, making Alpha's Neil thing. It also explains why the Voidwalkers are hunting her, Liam said grimly. She's not just powerful. She's their natural predator. Which means she has a chance, Theo said, looking at me with something like hope. Nora, if you're moon-blessed, your power isn't just defensive. You can actually kill them. Permanently. I killed one by accident, I protested. I have no idea how to do it again. Then we teach you, Zane said. Fast. My father cleared his throat. There's more. In her journals, Evelyn wrote about the moon-blessed training rituals, meditations, ways to channel the moon's power. He paused. If you want them, they're yours. I gathered the journals carefully. Thank you. He nodded stiffly. Then, hesitantly, I'm sorry, Nora. For not believing in you. For sending you away. I wanted to forgive him. Part of me did. But the hurt was still too fresh. I need to go, I said quietly. There's a war coming. And I'm the only one who can stop it. We left Greyvale as the sun set. I carried my grandmother's journals like they were made of glass, and my mind raced with everything I'd learned. Moon-blessed. Natural predator to Voidwalkers. Chosen by the moon itself. It should have felt empowering. Instead, it felt like the weight of the world settling on my shoulders. Hey! Theo's voice pulled me from my thoughts. He'd shifted back to human, walking beside me. You okay? No, I admitted. I'm terrified. Good. Fear means you're paying attention. His smile was small. But you're not alone, Nora. You have us. I looked ahead, where Liam and Zane walked side by side, two rival alphas who'd put aside their differences because of me. Why? I asked Theo. Why do you all care so much? Liam rejected our bond. Zane barely knows me. And you've seen futures where I might destroy everything. So why? Theo stopped walking, turned to face me fully. Because, he said quietly, in every future where we survive, in every timeline where the territories aren't consumed by darkness, you're not just fighting beside us. His amber eyes held mine. You're leading us. Uniting us. Becoming exactly what the moon chose you to be. And what's that? Hope, he said simply. You're our hope, Nora. And we'll fight to protect that. To protect you. The sincerity in his voice broke something open in my chest. Before I could stop myself, I closed the distance between us and kissed him. It was gentle. Tentative. Nothing like the burning intensity of a mate bond. But it was real. And when I pulled back, Theo's eyes were wide with wonder. Nora. I'm not choosing yet, I said quickly. I'm not ready. But I needed you to know what you've done for me, what you're doing for me, it matters. His smile was radiant. Then that's enough. Ahead, Liam had stopped walking. Even from this distance, I could see the tension in his shoulders. He'd seen. And the severed bond between us screamed. But he didn't say anything. Just kept walking. And I knew, when this war was over, I'd have to face what I felt for all three of them. But first, I had to survive. We had 5 days to prepare. 5 days before Theo's visions showed the Voidwalkers descending on the fortress like a plague. I spent every waking moment training, reading my grandmother's journals, learning what it meant to be moon-blessed. The rituals she described were ancient, meditations under moonlight, focusing my energy through silver and violet light, learning to sense the threads that connected me to every wolf around me. But the most important lesson was this. Moon-blessed wolves don't fight alone. Their power comes from unity. From love. from the bonds they forge with others. It explained everything. Why I'd been able to channel the warrior's power during the first Voidwalker attack. Why my connection to Liam, Zane, and Theo felt so vital, even without a mate bond. I was designed to bring wolves together, to unite them against the darkness. And in 3 days, I'd have to do exactly that, or watch everyone I'd come to care about die. The night before the battle, I couldn't sleep. I stood in the moon garden, staring up at the full moon hanging heavy and silver in the sky. Its light felt different now, warmer, like it was responding to me. Guide me, I prayed silently. Show me how to protect them. You should be resting. I turned. Liam stood at the garden entrance, still dressed in his strategist's blacks, maps probably still spread across his desk inside. So should you, I said. He walked toward me slowly, hands in his pockets. I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I see 1,000 ways tomorrow could go wrong. He stopped a few feet away. And in most of them you die. The bluntness hurt. But I appreciated it more than false comfort. I'm not planning to die. No one ever is. His golden eyes caught the moonlight. Nora, I need to say something. Before tomorrow. In case I don't get another chance. My heart clenched. Liam. I was wrong. The words came out rough, like they'd been dragged from somewhere deep. When I rejected the mate bond. I told myself it was strategy. Logic. Protecting my pack. He laughed bitterly. But it was cowardice. I was terrified of how much power you had over me, how one look from you could undo everything I'd built. I couldn't breathe. And then I watched you risk everything to save wolves you barely knew. Watched you face a Voidwalker without hesitation. Watched you choose compassion over revenge when your own pack rejected you. He stepped closer. You're everything I'm not, Nora. You're brave where I'm calculating. Trusting where I'm suspicious. And his voice broke. I miss you, he whispered. Even with the bond severed, I feel you. And it hurts. Tears burned in my eyes. You made your choice. I know. And I'll live with it. But I need you to know he reached out, his hand hovering over my cheek without quite touching. If we survive tomorrow, I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of a second chance. Even if you choose someone else. Even if you hate me. I'll prove it. I don't hate you, I whispered. You should. I should, I agreed. But I don't. Something desperate flashed in his eyes. Nora, don't. I stepped back before he could close the distance. Don't ask me to forgive you. Not yet. Not when I don't even know if I'll survive tomorrow. Pain crossed his face, but he nodded. Fair enough. He turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I'm glad the moon chose you as my mate. Even if I was too blind to see the gift I was given. He left before I could respond. I stood there, trembling, until another presence made itself known. He's an idiot, Zane said, emerging from the shadows. But at least he's a self-aware idiot now. I laughed to spite myself. How long have you been lurking? Long enough. He moved to stand beside me, staring up at the moon. You kissed Theo. It wasn't a question. Yes. You going to kiss me too? Keep things fair. I looked at him sharply, but his silver eyes were teasing. Mostly. I don't know what I'm doing, I admitted. 3 weeks ago, I thought I was broken. Now I have 3 alpha kings interested in me, and I can't even figure out what I want, let alone. Hey! Zane's hand on my shoulder was surprisingly gentle. You don't have to figure it out right now. You don't have to choose. You just have to survive. Everything else can wait. What if I don't survive? Then I'll drag your stubborn soul back from whatever afterlife tries to claim you and yell at you for dying. His grin was fierce. You're not allowed to die, Nora. I haven't finished training you yet. You still telegraph your left hook. I laughed, and it came out watery. Thanks, Zane. Anytime. He squeezed my shoulder, then let go. Get some sleep. Tomorrow, you're going to shine so bright those Voidwalkers won't know what hit them. He left, and I was alone again. Almost. You know, Theo said, stepping out from a completely different shadow, for someone who supposedly can't sleep, you're very popular tonight. Were you all just waiting to ambush me with feelings? Essentially, yes. His amber eyes sparkled with amusement. But I'm not here to confess anything dramatic. I just wanted to give you this. He held out his hand. In his palm was a pendant, silver, carved with phases of the moon, glowing faintly with magic. My mother gave this to me, Theo said quietly. She was a seer like me. She said it would help me find my purpose. He pressed it into my hand. I think it was always meant for you. The pendant hummed with power against my skin, familiar, comforting. Theo, I can't. You can. And you will. He closed my fingers around it. It'll amplify your connection to the moon. Help you channel more power without burning yourself out. He paused. I saw what happens if you try to fight tomorrow without it. You win, but you don't survive. Horror flooded through me. And with it, you have a chance. His smile was sad. I'll take a chance over certain death any day. I clasped the pendant around my neck. It settled against my sternum, right over my heart, and warmth spread through my chest. Thank you, I whispered. Thank me by surviving. He leaned forward and pressed a kiss to my forehead. And for the record, I don't regret you kissing me. I'd be honored if you did it again. But only when you're ready. Only when you're sure. He left, and this time, I was truly alone. I looked up at the moon, my grandmother's pendant warm against my skin, and felt the weight of tomorrow settling over me like a cloak. 3 alphas. 3 confessions. 3 different kinds of love being offered. But before I could accept any of it, I had to survive. The Voidwalkers came at dawn. Not 3 or 4 like I'd hoped. Hundreds. They poured over the eastern ridge like a tide of living shadow, blotting out the rising sun. And at their center, 3 massive Voidwalkers, each as large as the one I'd killed. Pack leaders. Positions. Liam's voice rang across the fortress. Archers loose. Silver-tipped arrows flew. They dissolved some of the smaller shadows, but the larger ones barely flinched. I stood on the fortress walls between Theo and Zane, watching the darkness approach, and felt my wolf rise to meet it. Ready? I asked her. Her answer was a snarl of pure determination. Born ready. Nora. Liam appeared at my side, his golden eyes intense. You remember the plan? I draw them in. You funnel them through the choke points. I connect with every wolf in the fortress and channel everything I have into a final strike. I took a breath. Simple. Simple, Zane snorted. Sure. Nothing complicated about connecting with 300 wolves and unleashing moon magic none of us really understand. Have a little faith, Theo murmured. His hand found mine, squeezed once. She's got this. The Voidwalkers hit the outer walls like a battering ram. Stone cracked. Wolves screamed. No! Liam roared. I closed my eyes and reached. Not with my hands. With my power. With that part of me that was moon-blessed, designed to forge connections. I felt them, every wolf in the fortress. Warriors on the walls. Healers in the keep. Even the servants cowering in the cellars. 347 wolves. And I touched each one. I need you, I sent through the connection. I need your strength. Your courage. Your will to survive. Give it to me, and I'll use it to end this. For one heart-stopping moment, I felt their hesitation. Then, like a dam breaking, they answered. Power flooded into me. Not just strength, but emotion. Love. Fear. Determination. Hope. Every wolf in the fortress gave me a piece of themselves. And I wove it all together. My eyes opened, glowing violets so bright it hurt to look at. Zane, I said, my voice echoing with power. Clear me a path. His grin was feral. With pleasure. He shifted massive and silver and leaped from the wall into the sea of shadows. Liam followed, golden and precise. Theo was right behind them, his auburn fur glowing in the dawn light. 3 alpha kings carving through darkness. For me. I jumped down after them. The moment my feet hit the ground, I shifted. My royal wolf emerged white as snow, twice the size of any normal wolf, eyes blazing violet. The pendant Theo gave me burned against my chest, amplifying every ounce of power flowing through me. The shadows turned toward me, and the 3 Voidwalker leaders roared. They recognized what I was. Moon-blessed. Their ancient enemy. Come on, then, I snarled. Let's finish what your kind started 1,000 years ago. They charged. I met them head-on. The first one lunged with claws of pure shadow. I dodged, Zane's training taking over, and raked my own claws across its side. Violet light erupted where I struck, and the Voidwalker screamed. The second one tried to flank me, but Liam was there, golden and fast, tearing at its legs while I struck its core. The third one was smarter. It hung back, gathering power, preparing for a devastating strike. But Theo saw it coming. His wolf slammed into it from the side, breaking its concentration long enough for me to reach for it with my power. I grabbed hold of the darkness itself and pulled. The Voidwalker's essence unraveled like thread, dissolving into nothing. One down. But there were still 2 more, plus hundreds of smaller shadows. I could feel the strain building. Even with 300 wolves backing me, channeling this much power was burning through me fast. I need more. The thought came unbidden, desperate. And then I felt it. The severed mate bond with Liam. Still there. Still burning. Even broken, it was a connection. A thread. Please, I sent through it. Please, Liam. I need you. For one terrible moment, nothing happened. Then, the bond blazed. Not healed, but open. Liam's power flooded into me, not just his strength, but everything he was. His brilliance. His strategy. His careful, controlled love that he'd been too afraid to show. And it was massive. The second Voidwalker lunged. I caught it midair with a whip of pure light and tore it apart. 2 down. The final Voidwalker, the largest, roared in fury and began to change. It grew. Shifted. Became something worse. A form made entirely of consuming darkness, with a dozen eyes and mouths filled with shadow teeth. Nora. Zane's wolf was bleeding, limping. Whatever you're going to do it now. I gathered everything I had. Every thread of power from the wolves behind me. The bond with Liam. The pendant burning against my chest. My grandmother's legacy. And I howled. The sound shattered the sky. Violet light exploded from me in every direction, not destroying the fortress, but flowing around it, protecting it, while slamming into the shadows like a tidal wave. The smaller Voidwalkers dissolved instantly. The leader tried to resist, tried to hold its form. But I was moon-blessed, chosen by the moon itself. And darkness bowed to my light. I poured everything into one final surge of power. The Voidwalker screamed, a sound that would haunt me forever, and then it was gone. Silence fell. The shadows retreated. The darkness fled. And I collapsed, my shift breaking, leaving me human and gasping on blood-soaked ground. Nora. 3 voices. 3 wolves, shifting to human, running toward me. Theo reached me first, cradling my head. Stay with us. Stay with. I'm okay, I managed. Just tired. Liam knelt beside me, his hand finding mine. Through the bond still open, still burning, I felt his relief. His joy. His love. You did it, he whispered. You saved us all. Zane dropped down on my other side, grinning despite the blood streaking his face. Told you that you'd shine. I laughed weakly. Did we win? Look around, Theo said softly. I turned my head. The fortress stood. The wolves were battered, exhausted, but alive. And they were all looking at me. Not with fear. With reverence. One by one, every wolf in that courtyard, Alpha and Omega, warrior and healer, lowered their heads. Not in forced submission. In respect. Tears burned in my eyes. All hail, someone called out. I didn't see who. But the words were taken up by hundreds of voices. All hail the moon-blessed. All hail Nora, who saved us all. The chant echoed through the fortress, through the territories beyond. And I realized I wasn't broken. I never had been. I was exactly what I was meant to be. 2 weeks later, the Moon Council fortress had been transformed. What was once a place of political maneuvering and uneasy alliances had become something else entirely, a true seat of unity. Wolves from all three territories worked side by side, rebuilding what the battle had damaged, training together, living together. All because of what happened on that blood-soaked dawn. I stood on the balcony of my chambers, no longer a guest room, but a permanent residence, watching the sun set over the mountains. My body had healed, though I still tired easily. The healers said channeling that much power had fundamentally changed me. I could feel it in the way moonlight felt against my skin now, warmer and more present. Like the moon itself was watching over me. You're brooding again. I turned to find Zane leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed, that familiar smirk playing at his lips. I'm reflecting, I corrected. Same thing, just sounds prettier. He moved to stand beside me. The alphas are gathering for the ceremony. You ready? My stomach twisted. As ready as I'll ever be. Tonight, I would make my choice. Not which territory to align with, that decision had already been made in the days following the battle. The three Alpha Kings had done something unprecedented. They'd proposed a unified territory. Shadowpine, Ironmaw, and Silverthorn would remain distinct packs, but they'd operate under a single banner. The Moon Banner, with me as its symbol. No, tonight's choice was far more personal. Tonight, I would choose a mate. The ceremony was held in the Moon Hall, under those painted constellations that seemed to move and breathe. Every alpha from the Northern Territories had come to witness it. The hall was packed, the air thick with anticipation and power. I walked down the center aisle wearing a dress of deep violet, the color of my wolf's eyes, the color of moon magic itself. Silver embroidery traced the phases of the moon across the fabric, and Theo's pendant rested against my heart. At the end of the aisle stood 3 thrones. And 3 wolves. Liam, in his blacks, looking every inch the calculating strategist, but his golden eyes were soft when they found mine. Zane, in his warrior's leathers, grinning like this was the best entertainment he'd seen in years, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. Theo, in his ceremonial robes of Silverthorn, calm and steady, but his amber eyes held a question he was too kind to voice aloud. Who will you choose? I reached the center of the hall and turned to face the gathered alphas. 2 weeks ago, I began, my voice steady despite my racing heart. I stood in this hall and was told I had to choose a territory. A pack. A place to belong. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. But the truth is, I've spent my entire life trying to fit into boxes others made for me. Broken. Omega. Worthless. I paused. And then I came here and discovered I was none of those things. I was moon-blessed. Royal. Powerful. My eyes found each of the 3 alphas in turn. But the most important thing I learned wasn't about power. It was about choice. About deciding for myself who I am and who I want to be. I took a breath. So tonight, I'm not choosing a territory. I'm not choosing based on politics or strategy or what makes sense for the greater good. I smiled. I'm choosing based on what my heart wants. What I want. Silence hung in the hall. Liam, I said, turning to face him fully. You are my fated mate. The moon herself chose us for each other. And you rejected that bond because you were afraid of losing control, of being vulnerable, of choosing love over logic. Pain flashed across his face, but he didn't look away. But in the battle, when I needed you most, you opened that bond again. You gave me everything you had, even knowing it might destroy you. My voice softened. You proved that you could be brave, that you could choose me, even when it terrified you. I saw hope kindle in his golden eyes. Zane, I continued, turning to him. You saw me as a warrior before I saw it in myself. You pushed me, challenged me, refused to let me hide behind fear or doubt. You taught me that strength isn't just about power, it's about the courage to stand up and fight for what you believe in. His silver eyes gleamed. And you never asked me to be anything other than exactly who I am. You celebrated every victory, laughed at every failure, and made me believe I was worth fighting for. His grin softened into something tender. Theo, I said, facing him last. You believed in me before anyone else did. You saw the potential in a broken girl from a pack that rejected her, and you bet everything on the possibility that I could be more. My voice cracked slightly. You protected me, guided me, and gave me the tools I needed to survive. And you never asked for anything in return except that I be true to myself. His amber eyes were bright with unshed tears. You three gave me different gifts, I said, addressing all of them now. Strategy and protection. Strength and confidence. Faith and guidance. I paused. And I love you for all of it. Gasps rippled through the crowd. But I continued, my heart pounding. I've learned something important about myself these past weeks. I've spent 17 years being told I was less than everyone else. And now that I know I'm more, I refuse to diminish myself again. Not for politics. Not for tradition. I looked at each of them. I can't choose just one of you. Because you each hold a piece of my heart. And cutting myself into thirds to fit what's expected, I shook my head. That's just another cage. Liam's eyes widened. Zane barked out a laugh. Theo smiled like he'd seen this coming all along. So I'm asking for something unprecedented, I said, raising my voice to address the entire hall. The Moon-Blessed were never meant to follow normal rules. We unite. We forge bonds that shouldn't be possible. We bring wolves together. I turned back to the three alphas. I want all three of you. Not as a political alliance. Not as a strategy. But as my mates. I took a breath. If you'll have me. If the council will allow it. If. Yes. Liam's voice rang out, clear and certain. He descended from his throne and knelt before me. Actually knelt, this proud alpha who'd rejected me once before. I was a fool to reject the moon's gift. I won't make that mistake twice. If you'll have me even as one of three, I'm yours. Hell yes, Zane said, dropping down beside Liam with a wild grin. Best idea you've had yet, princess. I never liked sharing, but for you, I'll make an exception. Theo was the last to move. He descended slowly, gracefully, and when he knelt, he took my hand. I saw this, he said softly, in my visions. Every future where we all survive, where the territories truly unite, it's because of this. Because you refuse to choose. His smile was radiant. So yes, Nora. 1,000 times yes. Tears spilled down my cheeks. The hall erupted into chaos, some alphas cheering, others shouting objections, everyone talking at once. But I didn't care. Because the three wolves kneeling before me, my strategist, my warrior, my seer, were looking at me like I was the moon itself. And I finally understood what my grandmother meant. Let them love you. Not one. Not in pieces. All of them. The council debated for hours. But in the end, they agreed. How could they not? I was moon-blessed, chosen by forces older than their laws and traditions. And if I said I needed 3 mates to fulfill my purpose, well, who were they to argue with the moon? The bonding ceremony happened that same night, under the full moon, in the garden where I'd first kissed Theo. It wasn't like a traditional mating ceremony. There was no single bond snapping into place. Instead, I felt 3 separate threads weave themselves into my soul. Gold for Liam, brilliant and strategic and burning with a love he'd been too afraid to show. Silver for Zane, fierce and protective and wild with joy. Amber for Theo, steady and warm and filled with unshakable faith. The 3 threads wrapped around my heart and held. Complete. Whole. Right. How do you feel? Theo asked, his hand in mine. Like I can finally breathe, I whispered. Liam stood on my other side, the mate bond between us, our bond, not forced, but chosen, blazing bright and whole for the first time. I'll spend the rest of my life making up for rejecting you, he murmured. Good, I said, squeezing his hand. Because I plan to hold you to that. Zane wrapped his arms around all of us from behind, pulling us into a ridiculous group embrace. So, who wants to tell the historians that the moon blessed brought peace to the territories by collecting alpha kings like some wolves collect rocks? I laughed until I cried. And for the first time in my life, I felt home. 6 months later, the unified territory was thriving. Trade routes had opened between Shadowpine, Ironmaw, and Silverthorn. Joint training exercises were now standard. And the smaller packs that had always lived in fear of being caught between powerful alphas were finally secure under the Moonbanner's protection. I split my time between the 3 territories, learning from each. With Liam in Shadowpine, I studied strategy and governance. He taught me to think 10 steps ahead, to see patterns others missed. With Zane in Ironmaw, I trained with his warriors, honing my combat skills until I could hold my own against even his best fighters. With Theo in Silverthorn, I learned to control my visions, because apparently, moon-blessed wolves could see glimpses of possible futures too. His patience was infinite as I stumbled through learning a gift I hadn't known I possessed. And at night, in whatever territory I happened to be in, I fell asleep surrounded by 3 wolves who loved me without reservation. It was chaotic. It was complicated. It was perfect. One evening, I stood in the same place I'd stood the night before the Voidwalker battle on the fortress walls, staring up at the moon. But this time, I wasn't afraid. "Grandmother," I whispered, touching the pendant that never left my neck. "I hope you can see this. I hope you know I figured it out. What I'm supposed to be." The moonlight seemed to brighten, just for a moment. And I swear I felt her warm and proud and pleased. "Not bad for a broken wolf, huh?" I smiled. "You were never broken," Liam said, appearing beside me. "We were just too blind to see your cracks were actually where the light got in." Zane snorted from my other side. "That was poetic as hell. You've been reading those romance books from the library." "Shut up, Zane. Make me strategist." Theo appeared behind us, wrapping his arms around my waist. "Children, please. We're trying to have a moment." I leaned back into his warmth and took Liam's and Zane's hands. 3 mates. 3 territories. 1 moon-blessed wolf who'd been told she was nothing and became everything. "I love you," I said. To all of them. To the moon. To the life I'd built from the ashes of rejection. "We love you too," they answered in unison. And under the watchful eye of the moon that had chosen me, surrounded by the wolves who'd fought for me, I finally understood the truth. I wasn't broken. I was becoming. And my story, our story, was just beginning. Okay, I need you all to sound off in the comments right now. Did that ending deliver everything you needed? Are you team triple mate bond, or did you want her to pick just one? And more importantly, do you want to see more stories like this? If this story gave you all the feels, smash that subscribe button because I've got so many more emotional, addictive werewolf romances coming your way. These stories take so much heart and time to create, and your support means everything. Drop a comment telling me. 1. Which Alpha King was your favorite, Liam, Zane, or Theo? 2. What was your favorite moment in the entire story? 3. What kind of werewolf story do you want to see next? Thank you for being here. Thank you for reading. Thank you for being part of this incredible community. Until next time, remember, you're not broken. You're not too much. You're exactly what the moon intended you to be.